Welcome to Engaging Life, the show where we talk about passions, well-being at work, and everything it means to live a fulfilling and an engaging life. Today I have Alyssa Michels on the podcast, and we're talking about grad school again, because grad school consumes your whole life. But basically it's kind of about like well-being in grad school and really how to survive grad school, because it's a time and a half. So yeah, let's get into it. So first, I just want to hear a little bit about you. What's your background? What did you study kind of in undergrad? How'd you get to grad school?
Okay, so I'm from Florida. I went to Florida Atlantic University to get my undergrad in psychology, and I think I always wanted to do industrial organizational psychology as opposed to clinical, and now I'm in, and so here we are.
Cool, cool. What do you think of grad school so far?
It's a lot of work. It's cool because like you're surrounded by all these people who like are obsessed with the same things you're obsessed with and love learning, because like in undergrad nobody is really, I mean, there might be a few people who are really passionate, but for the most part it's hard to get people like involved.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool to be surrounded by people who kind of love what you love and are like as diligent and determined.
Yeah. Has it like met your expectations?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah.
Cool.
At first, I remember like after the first semester, like we just had so much that like we get jammed into us.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, I don't know that I learned that much. But then like once you start like actually using what you learn, you realize like how much you actually did like learn throughout the...
No, I know. In my internship this summer, I was just like, I can't believe I'm actually using stuff we learned in like org psych, and now that we're in selection, we learned a lot in test and measures, even though we didn't really like it that much, but we learned a lot.
Yeah, because now when like other teachers repeat those things, I'm like, I don't even need to listen. I'm like, I know that. Like, so you you don't even realize that you really are retaining a lot of stuff.
And it's a lot of readings. It's a time. Yeah. I'm struggling with readings this semester.
Yeah, I think that's like the hardest part. And then making sure that you have your discussion questions, and then because I have 3 classes and they all this semester, and they all usually have 5 readings per week, and it's not.
Because you're in attitudes, right?
Yeah,
attitudes and values, which is you could explain it better than I can because I'm not in class.
An elective course, and it's really cool because it's not like lecture based. We basically read those 5 articles on whatever topic. So right now we're just looking at like basic theories of attitudes in the workplace. And
that's so like, kind of like how employees look at their job, or like what they think about their job.
Yeah, exactly. So like job satisfaction and their commitment to the job and things like that. And instead of like her just lecturing about the papers, we always like do activities, and it takes the entire 3 hours. It's crazy. And you end up learning because you're kind of like using what you've read and kind of like working through it. So
yeah, she's really good at that.
Yeah,
that
it's a cool professor. It's a different version of class than we're used to.
Yeah. So. 3-hour classes, gotta love them.
Right? And she makes it flow by, and it's like we're not even doing a lecture. We're doing like activities. So yeah, she does a good job with that.
That's really cool. So on a previous episode, I kind of discussed my thoughts on grad school and answered a little bit of questions. And so I'm going to get your thoughts on these questions. Okay. Would you suggest grad school?
Yes, I would. If you like to learn. So you have to like be determined and like to learn and be passionate about your field. And then it'll be the perfect place for you because you'll be surrounded by a bunch of other people who feel the same way. Mm-hmm. So... but like when I was trying to choose like if I should go to grad school and everything, I kind of like in psychology, you kind of know like you're not just going to get the undergrad, a bachelor's, but I wasn't sure if I wanted like a master's or PhD. And I think like that's a big thing with IO, at least like it's a big decision, like and you don't really know how to choose. Like, so I feel like I know more now after a year in on like how to make that decision, even though it's too late now. Like, I mean,
No,
but
we had a really long, random discussion about that in our class the other day. It's called Applied Research Methods, where you basically learn how to go project manage in organizations. But we just randomly got onto that discussion because of some questions that people had, and it really got in depth.
And it makes you realize that like they're both like pretty much, they both have pros and cons, and in the end like you're getting the same knowledge. So like the main difference is like time and money, because a PhD is going to take more time and less time. Like you're not going to get your career, so you're not going to have income for a longer time than the master's students, but then you get that research, like immersive research experience. But in the end, like what we learned in that class, Rich is the one who teaches it, and he's like been a part of the program for a very long time. So
like,
I mean,
since as long as I've been alive, I think.
Yeah, and he's been in IO for a long time.
Yeah.
So I kind of trust what he's saying. And basically both degrees, like I think a lot of people think like a PhD is going to get you more money, and that's like not really how it works. The PhD is really,
it's a greater starting amount, I think, but it also depends on how you work your degree, how you market your degree, because let's be honest, nobody knows really what the general public, I should say, does not know what IO psychology is.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah. And I'm actually glad you said that, because I'm a master's student, so I have that perspective, but you're a PhD student.
So
and we have different.
Well, sometimes I'm like, crap, I wish I was a master's student so I could just get out and like go into the field.
Yeah. So why did you choose PhD?
I think at the time it was like the main thing was like money, because I thought, like most people think, like it's for sure going to be more money, but not necessarily, because the master's students are out there 3 years before you. So like they're already getting like promotions and stuff possibly. But my main thing was like thinking of money and thinking of like the fact that I'm a woman, and like I just wanted my voice to like mean more. So I thought if I had doctor, like maybe it would like get them to understand me more and like listen to me. But now like it's funny, because like I'll sometimes be like, did I make the right choice? Because it would be a lot cooler if next year I was getting some income and like going in the career. But it's also like, I think there's a lot of PhD students right now who have their masters and work remotely. So it's not like there's nothing, but
it's definitely difficult to balance that. But we'll get into that question later. No, but I do think it's interesting, because our program is really unique in the sense that most, at least IO programs, master's degrees and PhD, like actually not the degree, but the classes are totally separate. Whereas we are continually in classes together, and we'll be in classes.
A good point.
And so I'm really learning PhD level stuff because of the uniqueness of this program. And I think another point is that we have a lot of women in this program. I guess psychology is a pretty women heavy like industry, but IO is more business oriented. And so I think that's really interesting, and I don't know if I've ever like thought about that, but have you thought about that, like being a woman in a grad program?
I guess like because like we're kind of the majority, it's not as like weird, but going in, like it was like things that I thought about, like because that was like a big reason why I wanted to get the PhD and stuff. But
I have noticed, and I don't know if you think the same as this, but I feel like the guys probably get more experience with data science. And I don't know if that's because we're like not interested in it, or I don't know what that is, but do you know what I mean? Because I can name 5 guys off the top of my head that are like really, really good at analytics, but
yeah, that is true now that you say that.
We kind of, and I mean, we have certain people that like we can do it, but it's just not something that's like our specialty.
Yeah, Yeah, I think it comes down to like who gets in charge of like disseminating the tasks, you know, because I think Gary, I don't know if you've mentioned, he's one of the newer professors here.
My advisor, he's great.
And now he's my thesis advisor, so I guess I'm pretty close to him too.
Yeah.
But he does a really good job at kind of,
whoa.
He does a good job at.
Sorry.
So we can just come back. Yeah. So Gary does a good job at.
Getting a little bit of an interruption in the podcast studio.
But he does a good job at like giving tasks out to everybody, whether it's a girl or a boy, and like kind of encouraging, because he's a statistician, so he's kind of like, it's not like gender specific, and I don't think anyone else means to do it that way. It
No,
just
I
ends
think
up
it's,
happening that
yeah.
way. But I think Gary like makes it a point to like go the extra step and make sure that like, and is reflective on like who's getting what, so that it's more balanced.
Yeah. And I think it's funny because we just talked about this. What was it? No, selection was Wednesday. Yeah. So we talked about, it was yesterday. Oh my goodness. I don't even know the days anymore. But I mentioned some like the statistic that like women's, particularly like in math, don't really like from kindergarten on, they don't get as many chances to mess up or ask questions in like math classes or science classes. And so that's really interesting. So I feel like we can see that a little bit with the more like data analytics side, and even like just TA positions. Because think about how many women in our program have TA positions, which are in the stats classes versus men, just because that's, so that's not something that I thought about, but I just think it's interesting being a woman in grad school. And so if it's a more like male dominated field, I would want to know what that experience is. Yeah. But that's cool. Getting back to the question, how do you balance school with other aspects of your life?
Okay, so I think I've gotten good at this over the last year, but I still struggle with things, but I have like things that I remind myself. So like one thing is making sure that you don't make yourself feel guilty if you go to take a break or go to do something that's not related to school. Because like grad school has such a culture of like being busy all the time and always working. And that's true. Like you always have something to do, but it's not, if you adopt that whole culture and am always thinking like work, then you're going to like not, those other aspects of your life are going to like fall short and be on the back burner. And eventually like that's going to affect your learning experience, because you're going to be burnt out and not be able to focus as much. So if you can just stop yourself from making yourself feel guilty when you like go to take a break or take a nap or watch a TV show, then that kind of helps. But then it's hard to do that when you are comparing yourself to everybody else in the program who like has a huge workload, just like you, but for some reason you kind of make yourself feel guilty if you like take a break. You're just like, oh, everybody else is so busy and I'm so busy, I can't really be taking a break. But if you think like that, then it's just going to stress you out more. So I kind of like to, like, I have my schedule out and like I have my like basic priorities for that week. Like I know it has to be done. And like you got into grad school too, so you know that you're determined, like you can do it. So if you've got the schedule out and you know it needs to be done, then it's a little like easier to not guilt trip yourself, because you're like, I have it planned out, I know I'm getting it done, so I can take this free time for myself, whether it's like relaxing stuff or like stuff like running errands or like doctor's appointments, because that's a big thing, like, you know, because I can't even I have like a 2-year-old prescription for my eyeglasses, and I've just like been pushing that doctor's appointment off. So like, and that's just like, that's affecting other things, and there's just no reason to like guilt trip myself to not like take an hour and go to the eye doctor and things like that. So, but I think a big thing is like not comparing your recovery experiences, like whether it's a break or like you doing errands, to other people's. And then same like with the workload, because it's easy to make it seem like you're going to think they're doing more or they're doing better than you or you're lazier than them, but I'm sure they feel the same way about you. So just trying not to do that comparing thing helps like not feel guilty.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I feel like we're talking about just what we talked about in class this week, because Rich brought that up too, is that he said like all of you guys are like more than capable of being here. All of you guys are capable, whether you're master's or PhD, of like excelling in the workplace, getting a PhD. So he was just like, all of you guys are capable. We know that because you're in grad school. And I feel like a big part of your first year in grad school is feeling the imposter syndrome. That's actually one of the most common things. Yeah. And I mean, I know I felt it. I was just like, what is going on? Yeah. Because we're so used to being kind of, at the top.
Yeah,
And so when you get around a lot of and I don't want to say like at the top in a like braggish sort of way, but it's just you're used to getting the information and understanding it really, really quickly. And when you're in grad school and you have loads of information to process, you're just, well, you know, you're like, what do I do?
Yeah, that's so true.
And so you start to see other people around you, especially I think the people who were above us, like the second years, and we were just like how are you doing this, the third years or fourth years, because they're just really, really hard workers. And we were just like, how do you get to this point where you can just remember somebody who wrote an article? That's I still struggle with that, remembering people who wrote articles.
I know,
but
they all just spit it out
exactly, and you're like, how do you do that? And so imposter syndrome is a really, really big aspect of grad school. But thinking about it, I think it's just because more people are kind of at your at a level, like you said, like they really want to learn, and so you're around other people for the first time who all of you are there to learn something, and learn a specific thing and to like achieve a greater level of learning. And so I think when you get into that environment, whereas you've been put in environments where everybody's been at kind of different levels, we learned about range restriction, but basically it's just that everybody's at this certain type of level in like wanting and desire to learn. And so when you get everybody at a high level, it just seems different, but it's not really different. It's just you don't have that whole like group there. Yeah, you don't have the whole group to compare it to. And so you're all of a sudden like, oh, maybe I'm not cut out for this, but you realize that you are. But I think
wouldn't
that
be accepted.
Exactly. I think that a lot of people can. I'm an optimist, so I really think that people can do what they set out to do.
Right, yeah.
And I think grad school is for a lot of people if that's genuinely what you want to do. And so that's just my thought. But
if you're passionate about it, then
then go for it. Yeah. And I think you bring a unique perspective because you care a lot about like well-being and taking breaks in the workplace. So that's like your areas of interest. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
So first, like, it goes back to the grad school culture, like well-being and breaks. Like, even though we're in IO psychology and we like focus on employee well-being, there's still like there's more like focus on selection and things that are more going to bring money as opposed to like bring wellness to your employees. So it's still hard to like get people to realize that well-being and taking breaks is okay, even in the IO psychology realm. So you have to just remember to not compare yourself or your boundaries to other people. So if like you set a boundary to not check your emails after 7 o'clock or something, then don't feel upset when somebody is like, oh, did you not get my email or something? Don't let that be like, oh crap, now they're gonna think I'm lazy. Like, just, they have different boundaries than you do. It doesn't mean anything. Like, and like, I think some of the things I do to, I guess, set boundaries is one of the big things I've done recently. I told you I turned off my notifications on my email, and that helped a lot. So, I mean, you don't have to do that at all times, but maybe if you're like working on a really stressful project, and whenever you get an email on that chain of those people, it just stresses you out and it distracts you from all those other tasks that you have going on. Or it distracts you from the moment, like you're taking a break or you're watching TV and you see it pop up and then you stop and go to your laptop and then you just start working again. So then it kind of ruins your break. So like, it goes back to like, you're in grad school for a reason. You're going to get your stuff done. So you don't need to have those notifications because you're going to check your email like every hour anyway, or at least every couple hours. Like, you're on the computer all the time. So if you wait to check your email and attend to those tasks when you choose to go to your email, then it's better than it popping up in the middle of a task and then it stressing you out more. So kind of like waiting, and then you're more in control. Like, you're going to do it when you check your emails, and that's when you can deal with those tasks, kind of thing. That's a big thing.
And even knowing that, like, something that I did yesterday is I could have sent an email at 9:30 at night, but I was just like, this can wait until the morning. Like, even if they check it, it's fine. Like, this can wait, and knowing that things can wait and you don't have to
that's so
keep
important.
These crazy hours just because maybe other people keep crazy hours. And,
and then we're all just doing it because we see you doing it, and then we just keep doing it.
Exactly. And the, like, phones are the best, but also the worst. Because
Yeah.
I like do everything on my phone because I don't feel like pulling out my laptop or even like going to the TV. Like it's so convenient, and you can like stream and watch movies or like
everything.
whatever. You can do everything on your phone, and so that has really kind of been, I think, detrimental to people just because you have access to work all the time. And so you really have to figure out a way to stop working and just take time for yourself, and also not get addicted to technology. But I have different thoughts on that. Because I mean, is addiction really, it's just that this is what we know. And so it's kind of hard to like, this is the way that you're connected to the world. And
it's how you make connections, and it's just like instantly gratifying. Like you can get like news, you can get you can connect with your friends, like, or you can send emails and
exactly. And so it's everything in moderation, but also realizing that that's just the way that the world is. But trying to find time as best you can to make time for yourself.
Yeah.
So talking about that, what's the most challenging thing that you've done in grad school thus far, or just like since you've been in grad school, what's the most challenging thing that you've encountered?
Yeah, so I don't know that it's like one specific moment. It's like something that happens often in grad school is like that you're confronted with certain tasks that like accentuate or make you realize that you're not the best in that area. So like it uncovers your weaknesses kind of. And since you're surrounded by all these people who are like really brilliant and good, like it can make you feel like inadequate or something. So like, I mean, on all kinds of projects, like when you're writing, a lot of times we do Google Docs so we can see how other people are writing. We'll be like, oh my God, they sound so much better than me. And you use that as like a thing to kind of like negatively evaluate yourself, and then you turn it into a bad thing, like, oh, I shouldn't be here and like I'm inadequate. But if you frame it like in the way that like grad school is literally supposed to show you where you're weak and where you need improvement.
I have not thought about it like that, but it's a good way to think.
Yeah, so because every time someone, whether it's like someone else giving you a negative evaluation or you yourself being like, I didn't do that as good as anyone else or someone else in the group, like that's going to, I don't know, like influence, I don't know, you've got to be able to change the way that you're looking at it. Like don't look at it as that negative thing. Like look at it like, wow, I would have never become aware of this weakness. And like now I'm in this environment where everybody's learning and it's okay to mess up and practice and like get to know how to do those certain things. So instead of being like, crap, I'm so inadequate, I can't believe I can't, like turn it into like, well, I'm really glad I was able to like be confronted and like aware with this weakness. Because some people like go throughout their whole career without realizing that they're bad at communicating or bad at like time management or interpersonal skills, and like being aware of it now in a less intense environment and like where you're supposed to be learning and
where you can in an environment where you can fail and it's okay to fail. So
when you do fail, don't take it as a negative, almost try to reframe it and be like, okay, this is an opportunity to learn more and get more.
Reframing thinking is a big thing in psychology because it
It's
works.
funny
it's
that
like
I say it like that's what you do with all kinds of things.
And I mean it's true, and it's like there's different techniques to it, but it's really true that your minds are really, really powerful, and how you think can actually affect your body. So it's really, really true.
And once you get like on the path of thinking that maladaptive way, like, oh, another thing I'm bad at, like then it's just going to keep going that way. And then once you start to reframe it, like, oh, cool, another thing I can work on, or at least now I know myself and my strengths and weaknesses, and I can have people compensate for that instead of being blindsided and be like, oh my God, I didn't know I did that bad on that, or whatever.
I am horrible at stats.
Well, also, I think we also say that we're way worse. We're like, oh, I did way worse
but we
than
know,
that person.
we know
but
a good amount, and I feel like, and I've thought, and I probably shouldn't say like I'm horrible at stats, because I'm not, because we learned in class where we were in kind of a class setting when we took statistics, where we were in more of a general population, I'd say. Yeah. And so we really learn like, oh, I'm getting this information and other people are not. And so I'm more apt to do it and I didn't think that I was.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that probably is like what we've been talking about, because we're always surrounded by people that know how to do it, and so when you don't know know exactly what other people know, you feel like you don't know anything, but you do.
And they probably have those same things
Yeah,
about you,
about-
just
yeah.
with something else, like
Yeah.
not stats. But yeah.
Yeah. So that's super interesting. So what, like, I mean, I know you kind of got into steps, but like, what steps would you take to reframe your thinking?
That's a good question. So
Micro
I guess, 'cause,
breaks.
like, that is a good point. Like, if you find yourself like really beating yourself up, like get away from it and like go watch TV or like take a nap and like stop letting yourself like go in that cycle and ruminate about it. Because I do that all the time, whether it's like school stuff or relationship stuff. Like, I just ruminate on things.
Oh, yeah.
And like, that's the first like bad thing. So you have to stop the ruminating, and then if you notice that you are ruminating, you have to reframe it so it's not a negative thing. It's actually like, that's why you're here, like, is to like realize what you're bad at and what you're good at and how to improve and things like that. So
That's really good.
yeah, but it's easier said than done. But just
Absolutely.
reminding yourself that, yeah.
That's I feel like that's everything in grad school is easier.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's crazy. So like what do you like to do kind of outside of grad school? Have you gotten any new hobbies since you've been in grad school?
Not really, but in undergrad, like, I really was not social at all because I lived at home and I was a commuter. So I didn't get that like social aspect. And here we're all such good friends, everybody in the program. So I guess like my new hobby is like actually hanging out with people. But like, we all go out and we have like the group chat and things like that. So like, we're like connecting with each other. And then like, I've always been into cooking. So like, when I'm trying to take a break or procrastinate, I'll be like, okay, well, I'll make a meal or something. So that way it's like I can eat it all week and I don't have to make myself feel bad, because it's like I actually need food and I enjoy cooking. So like, it's like a good, but I think my big hobby is Netflix. And then guilty myself that I watch the Netflix instead of.
But and again, you need because you're thinking constantly.
Yeah.
In classes, and again, those classes are 3 hours long.
Exactly.
Very, very long classes. And it's just more complex thinking. And so you really have to
taking in information and writing notes. Like, you're like, wait a second, what does that even mean?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Questions and
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think you really got to find just kind of like mindless things to do.
Yeah, it's so true. And like, because of the culture, people think that that's like not good, or if you do that, you're lazy or not hardworking. And it's like, it has nothing to do with your work ethic. It could be even that you're like, it can be a strength that you have those boundaries and like know that it's okay to like go and watch a show or something.
Yeah. What shows are you watching?
Oh my God, I just watched this new mini-series on Netflix. It's called Unbelievable. And it's about, it was a true story about a serial rapist, and he was going to all different towns, so they couldn't, it was really cool. And then, oh God, this is another bad one because it's about a rapist. But it just came out. It's a documentary, so this one's not like a theatrical thing. It's called Roll Red Roll, and it's about an Ohio football team that did some bad things. I should probably get some feel-good things in there, too. So, like, Gilmore Girls is, like, my go-to, like, feel-good. Like, I don't want to stress or, like,
the fact that you went to... to Gilmore. Well, I
thought I was being a little too, like, that's not the best break to take, is to go get upset about something else. But
and I guess it is a little bit, like, individual, because I couldn't, like, just because... granted, we're not in like clinical psychology, so it's not like we're encountering those things all the time. So, but it's
still like heavy, and like after you've been working all day, like a typical break would probably be something a little bit. But I mean, if it's
interesting to you,
but like it's also like like hobbies, like what things do you want to like catch up on and stuff like that. So like it's not always just what's relaxing, I guess. That's a good point. Because sometimes I'm just like, okay, I want to like lay in bed, but then other times everyone's going out, and I'm like, like that could be my like break is going out. Even though in my mind a break is like relaxing at home and not having to like do things and stay out late. But at the same time, like going out is a whole different type of like recovery experience.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. I feel like you and I both kind of get some flack from people because number one, we started out our first year and we lived I lived the farthest. Well,
Yeah, you
besides one of our other
oh, true. Yeah.
peers in our cohort, but he lives quite a bit away, so he doesn't really like he can't
Do
really
the
come
social
do the
things.
social
Yeah.
things. And so but I lived 30 minutes away at the time, and you lived about 20 to
Yeah.
15 minutes away. And so we would always go places, and part of it was because like we had to, it was like mentor
Yeah.
stuff, but then we would be like, okay, like we gotta, but I always loved that like
Your
period
excuse.
of time because we had that, and like we could
Yeah.
always look to each other and be like, are you about to leave? Okay, good. So we could like both leave together, so it's not an awkward thing.
But like we could still do that. And
Yeah.
I think like that's another thing about the boundary thing. Like you can go out and like you don't have to feel like you shouldn't make the other people feel bad because they're not going out. Like make sure you're encouraging them, make sure they're like welcome, but don't make them feel bad for like leaving early or like at least
I am
they
a
showed
grandma.
up.
I like
Me too. I get
people.
tired.
Yeah, like they like start. They're just like, let's meet up at like. I love when they say let's meet up at 8, and even though I like want to believe that that's the case, I know that somebody at the last minute is going to change it to like 9:30, and I'm like, oh my god.
And then you're like, wait, like I'm ready now. How am I
you're
going to stay awake for the next?
But yeah, you're just like,
Yeah.
if it's pushed back and then I have to stay, like I was planning on leaving at 10:30.
Yeah.
It's like a good hour and a half or whatever. But you know, it's really funny because hello again from the he took a forced micro break there.
Yeah, it was
I don't even
forced,
remember what we were
which is
talking
not
about
good.
before.
Going out.
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
And not wanting to go out.
Yeah, I was saying that I really value sleep because
Yes.
I didn't have that much sleep in undergrad.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
so
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a big change for me, like in undergrad, I was working and going to school. So then, like, now that I'm here and I just have school, sometimes I'm like, I don't know, it's just weird. Like, it's a different dynamic, like just having school, but still being just as busy as I was when I had school and work because it's just more intensive.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not an outside job, but
Yeah, it is a job,
but you have
yeah.
you have 2 graduate assistantships actually. And so what
Yeah.
is a graduate assistantship?
So that is kind of like how we get our money, pretty much.
Yeah,
So
how we
it
pay.
usually
It's not even
goes
money.
to
It's just tuition.
Yeah,
It's
so
just
they don't let you
tuition.
take it as a stipend, even.
And I mean,
so,
I have a stipend, but I would much rather it be tuition remission.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, I know somebody who one semester they got some GSA or some type of contract paid for their entire tuition that semester, and they also had their GSA though, and so that extra GSA money they weren't allowed to use because it can only go towards your tuition.
Yeah.
So it kind of got thrown away, but
That's
a bureaucratic thing.
they let me keep both my scholarship and the GSA, which I was very, very grateful.
It might have had to
for.
do. It was
Grateful to
like a
God.
Navy contract, so it
Yeah,
might have been
okay.
something because it was like outside of the school money. I have no idea.
But I feel like people just got to learn how to work the system, I think, and make
So
it work for you.
true.
Because it's
Yeah.
just like you can't. So if I would have chosen to get, because my thing does come with some money in tuition remission, but if I had chosen to accept that tuition remission, I wouldn't have got the scholarship. So it's basically like you have to
Okay, yeah.
choose, and then they can basically pay you the other money.
Yeah.
That's and pay you in wages instead of tuition remission.
Yeah.
Um,
That makes sense.
Yeah, and so I got to keep the scholarship, but also get the money from the graduate assistantship.
Nice. Yeah, you really have to like talk to professors and like people who have gone through it before, or seen their students go through it before. So you
Yeah,
because you don't know what's going on.
crazy
Yeah.
expensive.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another thing with the deciding master's or PhD. Like, can you financially like do that extra 3 years? And like, yeah.
That's the thing is that with with certain grad schools, it's you think it's 4 years, and the way that the program is set up, they don't really allow you. Like it's not really don't allow you, but it's more so done in 5 years.
Feasible, maybe.
Yeah, it's done in 5 years, which is a crazy long amount of time.
I try to tell myself it will just be 4, but when I like just now I was like 3, so that I don't like upset myself when I am here the 5th year.
Yeah, there's no shame in that. No shame in that. But that's cool. What do you do for your graduate assistantship? I know you're in a little bit of a peculiar situation.
I actually I have new news, but first I'll
cool.
go off my one GSA is with an undergrad professor who is doing forensic psychology, which is kind of
both in her lab, which
Yes.
is basically just sit there and talk about research.
Yeah, research and like a little bit of politics.
She loves politics, and I guess she kind of like studies that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
And I guess like when you get like more into because she's more on the law side and like courtroom type psychology stuff. So.
And she's from Canada, so it's much less, I think, taboo to talk about it.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, it's not as like a
touchy subject. Yeah.
subject. Yeah. Yeah, so for her, I'm basically just helping her with her undergrad classes, and she
cool.
has
Have you gotten to like
just
proctor tests or
grading,
anything?
just grading.
I want to grade tests. Like that is my.
Fun. Actually, it's funny though. Well, so I'm not grading a test. I'm grading this assignment. So it's like writing.
Yeah.
And I know when I was an undergrad, like I always liked when people helped me with my grammar or just like sentences and stuff. And she, so Lily is somebody who graduated last year with her master's, and before
Shout out to my mentor.
and before she had this position with Dr. Edkins, the forensic psychology professor, and so I can kind of see what she did, and she would sometimes like give them those like extra like, oh, you should probably like not start with this sentence or whatever. And Dr. Edkins told me like that's probably the best way to do it. Like
cool.
you can do that. But she was like, if you're too busy, just grade it and you don't have to add all those extra things.
Yeah.
But so I started adding the extra things because that was like the biggest thing that helped me improve my writing when I was an undergrad. Then I got like self-reflective, and I was like, is this the right thing to be saying? And then I didn't want them to think I was like attacking them.
Yeah.
Be like, it's totally cool, but like just some notes on grammar. Like you did great, but yeah. So I think I'm getting better at it though. Now I feel like I just fly through them, and yeah.
Is this
fun.
changing your career progression? Do you want to go into academics now?
No, definitely not. I think it like is just confirming that I don't want to do that.
That's also a big debate: is academics versus applied is the words we use in psychology. But it's basically, are you going to go into like an organization, or are you going to go into higher education?
Yeah.
But specifically with, if you choose the academia route, it's very heavy in publishing journal articles.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That's
publish
like my
or
big
perish
thing.
is the
exactly, and the bureaucratic stuff with the journals and what they'll
worst.
accept, and just what other researchers are doing isn't always like it's ethical and it's good and it's progressing the knowledge, but sometimes it's like construct proliferation. Like they're just kind of like, it's not like to do good research.
I have so
is
many
a lot
thoughts
of work.
on that like process, because I
It's
just feel like
such
a
a
lot
mess.
in, this is my own opinion and no offense to anybody, but I feel like a lot of academia is really more so egotistical.
Yeah, I
in the
could
sense
see
that it's just like, they're like, why would you go into the work? And I mean, we talked about this in Rich's class. Like, why would you go into the workplace? Anyway. But yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, I'm sure it's gotten better as we've gone like
but
further,
I think,
but it's still not the
yeah,
best environment it could be, which is like every other environment, I guess.
true. Yeah, but I think like that was a big thing too, like for choosing not academia, like because teaching is fun, and it, like I do like seeing like how like, because the students write these amazing things, and it is cool to see that, but just having to have that set amount of things that you have to publish like stresses me out, because like I'm like more of a perfectionist. Like I don't want to do a study unless it's like exactly what the field and the research needs to progress. So like if you really want to, and like Jackie, she's like in our program,
so passionate about it.
She's doing academia, and it's like perfect because she'll be able to handle that rigorous, like doing research all the time. And she's really good like in class discussions, like not just saying her own piece, but like bringing it back to what everyone's saying. So she's going to be awesome. I already
know. She really hates when we get off on tangents. Mostly it's
that's so true.
I'll accept my part in the tangents. I
do it too. Yeah.
Classes are, this is like a side note about our like particular cohort, is that we like ask a lot of questions. Sometimes they are applicable to what we're talking about, but oftentimes they are not. And I think I'm noticing it again because we've just like started classes and we're kind of getting into a swing of things. And our like the past couple of classes, it's been so funny to see like us ask our professors questions, and then they're like, they answer and they give really, really good answers, but they are just not expecting us to like ask questions because I feel like the groups ahead of us have kind of just been like, okay, I'm going to intake this information.
Yeah, I got that sense too. Like Rich made it seem like in the past he's had to like encourage people to ask questions,
and not even only Rich, but like
that,
Jesse as well, and I think Alice is like everybody, even Pat. Like we were talking about job analysis, is like usually job analysis is a pretty dull topic,
right?
Like,
and we had already asked
I'm glad,
like 5 things and gone off on
which job analysis is basically coming up with a description for a job in the most basic terms.
Kind of feeds into the job description you see.
Like the job postings. And so I just think that's really funny, is that we are a very inquisitive bunch of people.
And that like that's why it's so fun to like be around all these people who like the same things and are just as passionate, because we all kind of like feed off each other's energies and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like we got off onto a little bit of a tangent there, because you were going to say something like, what's the new thing about the GSA?
Oh my God, I forgot we were even talking about. Yeah, so I've got the Edkins thing, and then my other one, I was originally supposed to be working with Lisa, who used to be our program chair, and she just recently got promoted to the dean of the entire psychology program.
Whoop, whoop.
So she's been very busy, and our new program chair is Gary, and he has taken me under his wing. So I'm no longer going to be working with Lisa.
I love everybody, but Gary is the best.
He really is.
I can say that because he's my advisor.
Especially he's good at, like he's just good at being a mentor and like really the learning process. Like he cares about his students. And I'm not to say that the other ones don't, but he like really makes effort.
Yeah, I think we see that a little bit more is because we came in together. So it was our first year and it was his first year. And so I feel like, I don't even know if, I don't know if this is the right place, but I don't know if he has that same relationship with other cohorts, like the people that are above us in years, or even below us in years, because they just know him in a different context. Whereas we came and we were like, we don't know what we're doing. You sort of kind of like, you're still trying to adjust to the job. And so that was a cool thing that we have with him, just because we came in at the same time. Yeah.
And he kind of wasn't he wasn't immersed in our culture yet, so he got to bring like his own perspectives and like changes to the program and stuff. So that was cool too.
Yeah.
But so I'm gonna be working with him instead of Lisa, which I'm a little upset about, but
Lisa does some cool work. She does women in leadership studies. So
she's got so much now. She's doing research and administrative stuff, and so it's just
she's
hard
great.
To
she's
manage
great.
Somebody, so it works out better.
That's cool. What are you? I guess kind of like the last question, because we're coming up on time here. But what are you studying for your thesis?
So I'm looking at breaks, which is kind of why now it makes a lot of sense. So I've been telling everybody to take breaks the whole time. So I'm looking at how breaks influence. A single break episode would then influence your positive and negative affect, which is just kind of like your feelings of positivity and like feelings of negativity. And then I'm also checking out fatigue and energy levels to see how the break affects that. And that's kind of already been done. And for the most part, it seems like breaks are good for they're going to make you more positive and less negative and less fatigued. But there's individual differences, and that's like where it goes into like you shouldn't judge someone else's boundaries because there are individual differences. Some people can work straight through and it's not as detrimental to their energy as it would be to someone else.
Yeah.
So we're looking at if you get interrupted during your break. So kind of like when you're getting an email and you're trying to watch TV, like that kind of thing. Or if you're just taking a relaxing break and someone interrupts you and turns it into like a social break.
Yeah.
And how that influences your recovery outcomes.
Yeah. And I imagine, that would be different for like introverts and extroverts too.
Yeah. I know. It was
Is he making you develop a scale? Sorry, finished.
It was so hard to kind of figure out what individual differences I want to look at, you know, because there's polychronicity, which is like enjoying multitasking.
Okay.
And then there's like intrinsic and extrinsic motivation to the job. Like, does it make you feel good, or do you just like the money that you get from it?
And other things like benefits.
Yeah. And then, so it was hard. And then what was the one thing that you just mentioned? That would be,
I said, is he making you, Gary loves developing scales because he's a statistician. So is he making you develop a scale?
Well, so.
Not making, but is he encouraging you to develop a scale? He's encouraging me to develop a scale. He's my thesis advisor as well.
Yeah. So interruptions to breaks has never really been studied before. Everybody looks at interruptions to work. So I'm going to not necessarily make a scale. I mean, I guess it probably will end up being like a few items, but we're basically like kind of developing the construct of interruptions to breaks. So like, are we just going to say it's an interruption, or are we going to break it down like you were taking a break and you got interrupted and you had to go back to work, or you're taking a break and you got interrupted and you had to do something social instead of relaxing, which are both types of breaks. So things like that we have to hash out, and kind of like there's no one to look at what they've done before. So I think we are going to try and like figure something out there, like with dimensions and the scale, but
that's really cool.
Still in the preliminary stages.
Yeah, it's quite early. Hopefully we can defend before.
Yeah, I think we're all off to a good start though, because like we all have a solid-ish idea.
And I think like a lot of our cohort is like doers. Like we don't really. I mean, like we procrastinate, but we procrastinate.
Yeah,
up
I
until
totally
a
get
point.
what you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Procrastinate as much as you can, and without detrimentally affecting your work,
and then it's done. Yeah.
And so well-being.
Cool. and well-being. Well, on that note, do you have any like where that people can follow you? Do you want people to follow you? You don't have to say.
Oh yeah, I have a LinkedIn. It's Alyssa Michels. Michels is spelled Michels, which is odd. Everybody always thinks that's weird because it should have an A in it. But so I'm on LinkedIn, so you could follow me on there. And we are always like updating what we're doing, like in terms of like work at the center, which is one of our consulting things that we have here at our program, and just kind of update with all of our things that we do on there.
Yeah, cool. Maybe they can help you out with your dissertation, be a part of it.
Yeah, maybe if I need to check out the scale that I developed for the interruptions to break, I can pilot test
whatever
it out
you
on
have,
LinkedIn.
whatever you have the scale developed, I'll just like drop it in the link.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that'd be perfect.
That's the description box. That's so funny. Cool. Well, thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah. It's so much fun.
It's been awesome. This is what we do in real life. So it's like
true.
We're literally just having a conversation. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks. 2 weeks actually. All right. Peace.